and welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. This is part 2 of my Sunset Cloud series, and in this video we're going to add the final details to the cloud and add in the moon and the silhouette. If you want to follow along with traditional materials, check out part 1 in this series where I have a list of all the brushes, paint, and canvas that I use. The app that we're going to be using is Infinite Painter for Android, and we're using one of my photo references that I took of a sunset. And I want to go ahead and take the Leo brush or the flat oil brush and just add a little bit more dark to the clouds on the top. And so I'm using a dark purple color, and if you're following along with your acrylics, you can use dioxazine purple with some ultramarine blue added and some white acrylic gesso. And you can use your number 6 filbert brush for this. And so here I'm just kind of searching through, and I want to use the Vince brush to smudge out the wisps of these clouds. And again, these are horizontal stratus clouds. And so they're going to be going across your canvas, and you want to make sure that you keep your brush strokes horizontal here. And I'm blending them together, but I'm not killing all the light color because we want some of the pink to show through. And we also want the edges of these clouds to look a little bit jagged with little wisps coming off of them. And we want to add a little bit of some light pink highlights. And if you're using your acrylics, you would just take cadmium red light and add a lot of white acrylic gesso. You can also use Grumbacher red, and that will make it a bit of a pinker color. And you just want to go ahead and just add that in there and smudge it, but make sure that you don't get rid of all your dark. You just have to kind of keep a balance there, because it's the contrast that makes your painting. And then I want to go ahead and add a little bit more of some defining edges to the puffy clouds in the middle. And so I'm using the darker purple color again. And you can use your script brush or your number 3 round brush if you're following along traditionally. But you want to go ahead and smudge these marks in as soon as you make them if you're following along traditionally. And here we'll be able to smudge them in a minute if you're doing this with Infinite Painter. So I'm adding a whole bunch of different colors here, and this is the time when you want to add a lot of variations in color to your cloud. And so I'm adding some oranges, some more salmon colors, some more pink colors. I'm also adding the smudging out the darker purple colors. And again, we want to use a round stroke for this, sort of like a cotton ball look. But don't kill all your light color behind it. And you mostly want to blend these on the bottom of the paint stroke. You kind of want to leave a little bit of a hard edge. Now these clouds are a little bit less defined than we did in the thunderhead cloud study, so they'll be a little bit softer. But you still want to kind of keep that principle of keeping sort of a hard darker edge against the lighter colors. And then here I want to add a little bit more of some pinker highlights on the bottom of the clouds and also on the edges of the puffy clouds. And again, smudge them on the bottom, and you can add a little bit of some brighter orange if you would like. This really makes the clouds come alive and look three-dimensional the more you add brighter colors to them. But keep it within the general color scheme of your painting. You don't want something that would not look correct in your painting. For example, you wouldn't want bright green or something like that. You just want oranges, pinks, light yellows, purples, all the colors that you've been using. And so here I'm adding a little bit of the darker color to the clouds, which is a sort of a cadmium orange and with a little bit of red added to it, and white acrylic gesso. You just make it a little bit darker. And you want to go ahead and sort of give a defining edge to some of the puffiness in the middle clouds. And I'm smudging them out on the bottom there. And then I want to go ahead and add the wispy clouds again, put a little bit of a darker color on the bottom of the wispy clouds, and pull them in front of the light color of the clouds, and that will make it look more three-dimensional. And you want to make these clouds look jagged and wispy, like they're floating in front of the big puffy cloud. And this cloud may develop into a thunderhead or it may not, so it's not going to be quite as defined as a real thunderhead. So it will have sort of a softness to it. And so here I'm just kind of softening a little bit more of the strokes and just kind of trying to blend it in a little bit, but I don't want to blend out all the edges on the cloud. I just kind of want to make it look more painterly and not so digital on this, so I'm trying to kind of blend them in a little bit better. And you can use the Leo brush or you can use the airbrush for this, and that will just kind of soften the clouds. And the airbrush that I use in Infinite Painter is usually the cloudy brush. And then I want to go ahead and add the moon. That just adds a really neat detail and makes your painting look really neat. And so I'm using the circle guide tool in Infinite Painter, and if you're following along traditionally, you can use a bottle cap or just something that's a little bit circular, or you can press down your filbert brush all the way so that the bristles splay out and just turn it in a circle, making sure that you don't move your brush, and that will also give you a round moon shape. And I'm adding a little bit of some dark to the moon. The moon is not going to be a real yellow look. It's going to be kind of maybe a little bit of a grayer look because it's not nighttime yet. The sun has just set, so the sky is not as dark. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of a grayer looking moon. And so I'm adding a little bit of some gray into the moon just to show the craters of the moon and the texture of it. And that just gives it a little more depth and a little bit of a more realistic look. And I want to add a few pink thin wispy clouds, very, very thin, very wispy, just on the edges of the painting to kind of create an eye stopper, which is something that keeps the viewer's eye on your painting. And so I'm adding just a few thin wispy ones over the moon just to make it look three-dimensional. And then I want to go ahead and add a little bit of some silhouettes at the bottom. Now you don't have to, you can just have like a cloud painting if you want, but I just thought that it would be neat to show you how to do a little bit of some silhouettes. And here I'm just adding some little like bush and grass looking shapes against the sky, and you can use pure black or you can throw in some blue if you're following along traditionally, and it just kind of makes a really powerful impact when you use silhouettes in a painting. But one thing that you have to remember, if you're going to do silhouettes, they have to be clear, and by that I mean it has to clearly show what it is. So here you can see that these look like bushes and the tops of grass. And I'm using the Pollock brush for part of that. And you can use your bristle brush and make some fuzzy edges for the bushes, and then use your script brush to make the little twiggy bushes that I'm putting in now. And again, see, these shapes are clear looking. You can tell that those are little twiggy bushes of some sort. You can tell that it's vegetation. So if you're going to add figures of people or landscapes, and I'll show some examples here in a minute. Here I'm signing my picture, calling it good because we're going to go ahead and show some of these examples. Now this is a cowboy, and you can tell that that's a cowboy, and there's a cactus down below in the other picture. And these are clear, so you have to be really clear about what your silhouettes are. In these I have some crosses and I have some yuccas, also another cowboy. and that's a silhouette of Shiprock, which is a landmark in New Mexico. So you have to be really clear about what your silhouette is. And this is kind of like the principle in cartooning, where they tell you to be clear about your characters. And so then also you don't have to have just silhouettes. You can have just pictures of clouds and sunset. Here are some examples on the beach, the Oregon Mountains, a lighthouse, and another ocean scene where I actually have like a hand that's actually painting it. So you can use sunsets to do all kinds of neat effects in your pictures. And then I have these all uploaded onto my online galleries where people can get prints. So you can see that sunsets really add a lot of neat effects to your paintings and really make nice, pretty paintings. So this is the end of my Sunset Clouds series, and everybody stay tuned for a brand new series coming soon. If you want to see what it is, hit the subscribe button. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions or any suggestions about what you would like to see next, just leave them in the comments down below. And I will catch you later.